Hi there, I'm Sara Gallegos, Education and Events Manager for BabyLock, and maybe you've heard that there's a brand new update available for the Solaris. There's also an upgrade available, and I'm going to share all of the features of the upgrade for you in a separate video. But in this video, we're going to talk all about the update features that are available for the Solaris. The first step in installing your update is to turn the machine off. You're also going to want to save your update onto a clean USB stick, so a formatted USB stick that doesn't have anything else on it. Once the machine is turned off, we're going to turn it back on again, but as we turn it on, we'll touch the needle threading button, and that's going to place the machine into what we call update mode. So we get a different screen when the machine comes back to life, and we have the option of installing it via the USB port. So now I'll plug my USB stick into the appropriate port and now touch load. So it just takes the machine a moment to take all of the information off of that USB stick and install it into the machine, and it just lets you know, don't turn the power off as you are installing that update. It's going to tell you when it's safe to do that. This update is loaded with lots of different features, so it may take a little bit of time for your machine to install all of that information. Now that the machine is finished updating, we can turn off the machine, unplug that USB stick, and then we're going to turn it back on again and explore all of the new features. And I've got the embroidery unit attached, so of course it's going to move the embroidery arm. Now that the update is complete, you have a lot of new features built right into your Solaris. And to find the information about how to utilize those features, they're already in the instructions in the machine. So part of that download gave you built-in help. So if we go up to the help screen and touch the PDF manual, you'll find that you now have an addendum. And inside of that addendum, you're going to find all of the instruction pages for everything that was included in this update. So you can kind of leaf through that, read through it to find all that information. I'm going to close out of there. And the first thing that I want to show you is what you'll see when you move into the settings pages. So I'm going to select the settings key up top, and we're going to move into our machine information page. And you'll find now that you have updated to a brand new version. Now the version available as we're filming this video is 6.41, but you may find that your number is just a little bit different because we make changes to that as time goes by. Now it also tells us that we have Kit 1 installed. Inside of that large file was all the information that your machine's going to need if you choose to purchase the upgrade kit. So updates are always free, but you've got the option of purchasing the upgrade kit, which gives you a whole bunch more features, lots of embroidery designs, a new hoop, some new feet, and all you have to do is purchase that from your local BabyLock retailer, insert the certification key that comes in your upgrade, and your machine will unlock all of those additional capabilities. But let's continue to explore what's in this update because it has a lot of great information. So first we're going to touch OK to close out of our settings pages, and I'm going to take you into the IQ Designer screen. So now that the machine has finished that update, when you first go into IQ Designer, it's going to ask you to attach your scanning frame because there are some improved scan capabilities within the machine due to this update. Now my needle is threaded, and just because I'm going to scan, I like to just trim that thread out of there so the camera does not see the thread. There we go. And now I'm going to ask it to scan. And now everything is complete and we can explore the new features of IQ Designer. So I'm going to touch OK, and then I'm just going to take off my scanning frame and set that aside. Now, one of the things that has happened once we've added this update to the machine is when you're working with the built-in shapes in the machine, it does not automatically assign an outline to them. So I'm going to go into my stamp key and select one of these shapes and touch OK. And then we could add an edge to it if we want to. We'll just do a straight stitch. And then we'll check out some of the fills and add a fill to that. Of course, there are so many beautiful fills, lots of different choices. And we'll see what's new when we touch the next key. So everything looks pretty much the same here in IQ now, but when I touch next, you will find that the default option automatically goes to off. And that refers to an outline that would be placed around any of the built-in stamps that you work with in the machine. It could be a hoop, it could be one of these shapes. In the past, it automatically defaulted with an additional outline turned on. And in most of the educational videos that you've seen from us, we've gone in and turned that outline off because it was just an added step that we didn't necessarily like in the final design. So now it automatically defaults to off. So that's one step that we can eliminate. Another neat thing about this new update is if you are working in IQ Designer and for some reason your machine turns off, you do not have to worry about losing all of your work. We've had this feature in Embroidery for a long time. If the machine shuts off, when we turn it back on again, it takes us back to the last stitch that we were working on. Well, IQ Designer will now do that for us as well, so we don't lose all of our work. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn the machine back on and let it cycle through its calibration. Now, it doesn't automatically bring me to the resume screen until I go into IQ Designer. I could sew, I could embroider, and then go back into IQ Designer later, and as soon as I select IQ Designer, it then asks me, is it okay to recall and resume the previous memory? I'm going to say okay, and it will bring up the exact design that I had previously been working on. So you don't have to worry about your work being deleted if for some reason your machine powers off. Now let's go ahead and set that into the embroidery field, and I'll show you another awesome feature that's in this update. So here I am in the embroidery screen, and we're going to allow this design to begin stitching out because there's something new that happens on your Solaris once you've installed this update when you run out of bobbin thread. So I've run out of bobbin thread, and in the past, when we've been embroidering and run out of thread in the middle of a design, it's been important to stop and back up a few stitches just to make sure that those thread tails are secure. But with the new feature in the update, when the machine stops for a low bobbin, it gives you an option and letting you know that you can touch your reinforcement key, and the machine will take a few stitches in place to lock in those stitches before you change your bobbin. So the machine has taken those few locking stitches, and now I can touch the carriage move key, and it gives me a message just letting me know that it's going to move it right out of the way. It cuts the thread, and I can remove the hoop to change my bobbin. Now the machine's going to go right back to the stitch that I left off on, and I can finish my design. Now there are a couple of additional features in IQ Designer with this update that I think you will really like. So we're going to go into IQ Designer, and one of them has to do with the ability to zoom in. So I'm just going to quickly draw a line. So we'll select one of our line drawing tools. I'm just going to draw a straight line, and I'm going to assign one of our outline properties to that. So we've got all these fun built-in line properties, and let's do this guy right here. And I'm just going to assign it to the line that I've just drawn. And now I've got the option when I zoom in to go all the way out to 1600%. So if you are working with a project where maybe you're tracing a shape that you've scanned in the hoop or in your scanning frame, you can zoom in now up to 1600% magnification so that you can really have precise placement of your stitch points, which I really like a lot. Now I'll touch the next key so that we can see the line property that I've assigned to that line. And you can see that I've got all these little stitches that are hanging off of the line. That's just one of these beautiful outlines that we've got built into the machine. What has changed with this update was in the past, when you assigned this particular property to a shape or a line that you've drawn, it would kind of center the stitch on your line. What it does now is it takes the straight edge of the stitch and places it right on the line. So if you're working with a shape that has an outline and you've assigned this decorative stitch to the edges of it, the edge of the stitch is going to line up exactly on the outline of your shape instead of kind of centering over it. And then if you choose to flip it, it's going to again flip right on the line. So now all of those little circles that are on the top of my stitch are facing up instead of facing down, but the stitch is perfectly centered on the line that I drew. And again, you'd have the same effect with a shape. This was a feature that a lot of our customers asked for. You know, we take all kinds of recommendations about things that you'd like to see on our machines, and they very often work themselves into updates. And this is a perfect example. So we've given you extra magnification, which was a huge consumer request, the ability to lock in those stitches when you run out of bobbin thread, and the ability to center your stitches right on your shape. Now there's another really neat feature built into this update, and I'm just going to go back to the home screen, that allows us to update wirelessly. So I'm going to shut the machine off, and I'm going to turn it back on again in update mode. And now you'll see that we get an extra option on the screen. If your machine is connected to your wireless network, which mine is not at this time, you'll see that you get this Wi-Fi icon. And if it's connected, that will not be grayed out. So now, instead of having to save your downloaded update to a USB stick and use that for updating the machine, you can actually do it wirelessly. We can just cut out the step of the USB stick altogether. So again, when you have your machine connected to your wireless LAN system at home, in your settings pages, it walks you right through how to do that. The Wi-Fi icon right here will be active for you. So again, you just touch that and it's going to take care of that download for you. Now, along with these improved Wi-Fi features, there's another really neat auto download option. So I'm going to go into the settings pages of the machine and move through to page 12, and you'll see here that it says auto download. It comes default turned off. I'm going to turn that on. And now whenever this machine is connected to a Wi-Fi network or your machine at home, it's going to automatically be searching for available updates, kind of like your computer does. And when there is an update available for your machine, you're going to find that in this little wireless icon, you'll see an exclamation point. That is your machine signifying to you that it's time to turn your machine off, turn it back on in update mode, and install that update. So again, you don't have to go searching for when updates are available and checking out the BabyLock website to see if there is a new update. Your machine's going to automatically let you know when there is an update available. Now, the final feature in this update that I'd like to share with you has to do with the projector in the sewing mode. So I'm going to move into the sewing screen of the machine, and I'm going to select a fun quilting stitch. I love all the different stitches that are built into the Solaris, and I love doing applique and playing with fun stitches like this. So we're going to utilize this particular stitch. Now, there are two amazing positioning tools built into the Solaris. First, we've got the projector, and when we turn that on, it automatically shows all of our stitches directly on our fabric on the bed of the machine. Awesome for positioning your stitching. We've also got that guideline marker, which I truly love if I'm trying to center a stitch on a straight line, because I can see the straight line on the bed of the machine. However, in the past, when we turned on the guideline marker, it shut the projector off. Well, now we can use both at once. So I'm going to start by turning on the projector, and now we can see that decorative stitch on the bed of the machine. And just a little note for you, I have marked a black line on my fabric that I'm going to be centering my stitch on. So I've got a big black line here. That is the pen mark that I've made. The other thing I want to point out is sometimes when we are photographing or filming the projector on this machine, it causes a bit of a strobing effect. So if you're seeing funny lines on the fabric, know that I'm not seeing that on my fabric. You won't see this when you're working with that on your machine at home. It's just what happens when the lighting of the projector interacts with the lighting in our room. So you just want to make sure that you know that that strobing is not going to happen on your machine. And again, I don't see it here, but I've got the projector turned on. I can see my stitch on my fabric. And of course, you've got a couple of different options with that. You can always change the color of your stitch. So there it is in red. You've got 4 different color options, and you can use that to see whatever looks best on the color fabric that you're working with. Now, I'm also going to turn on the guideline marker, and that's going to help me to keep that stitching centered directly on the line that I've marked. So I'll select the guideline marker. I'm going to turn it on. And now on the bed of the machine, you'll see that there's a bright green line going down the center of my stitching. That's that guideline marker. You can change the color. I'll select red just to kind of give you a little visual. And I'm going to align that so that it's directly on my marked line. Now I know that as I stitch, my stitching is going to be perfectly centered on the line that I marked. Now something different happens on the screen as well when we turn on the guideline marker with this update. Before, when we turn the guideline marker on, we would see it on our fabric. It's being projected onto the bed of the machine, onto your fabric, but nothing changed on the screen. Now, when you turn it on, it gives you a visual of the guideline marker on your screen. It is all the way at the left position. It's just there to let you know when you glance at your screen that that feature is turned on, but it's not signifying where it's positioned in relation to your stitch. You've got the ability to move that guideline marker side to side. You can change the color, you can change the length. There's a lot of different things that you can do to utilize that guideline marker to aid you in perfect sewing. And now you can take a quick look at the screen and see that it's actually turned on. So just to kind of drive it home, the benefit of this feature is now I can use the projector and my guideline marker for perfect placement of stitches instead of having to choose one or the other. I just know that you are going to love working with some of these features in the all-new free update for the Solaris. Now again, if you have suggestions and ideas of ways that we can make our machines better, we love to hear about it, and a lot of those suggestions have found their way into this most recent update. Now, we have just scratched the surface of all the amazing new features available for your Solaris. Of course, there's that upgrade, and if you'd like to learn more about the upgrade or purchase it so that you can get those amazing features and the new hoop on your Solaris, be sure to visit your local authorized Baby Lock retailer.